So hi, I'm Dr. Das. I'm one of the consultant cardiologists at Barts Heart Centre and Whipps Cross Hospital.
And hello, I'm Emma and I'm the cardiac rehab dietitian working alongside your cardiac rehab team.
And today we're going to be shopping for a good and healthy heart, trying to show you what kind of foods to shop for, what things to look out for in labelling, and then we're going to cook some food and show how we can keep a strong and healthy heart and how food is at the heart of it. We're starting off in the most important section, which is our vegetable section. So we all know vegetables and fruits are important for your heart health. But is there anything particular that you kind of tell your patients to do?
So I would say trying to have a variety of colours. You can see we've got lots of lovely colour fruit and vegetables here, and trying to have a rainbow each day, lots of different varieties so that you get a broad intake of all different nutrients.
So that's really important, so a rainbow of colours in your vegetables.
Yeah.
And how much should you have aim to have each day?
So the aim is to have 5 or more portions a day, and when we do our cooking section we can show you exactly what a portion is, but just as an example, your standard fruits like apples, bananas or orange will be a medium-sized portion, or basically what fits in your hand is a portion.
Okay. And often some patients often ask me, is chilies all right for someone who's had a heart attack or a heart problem?
Yep, I would say that chilies are fine. They count towards your vegetable intake. So do onions and garlics and all those lovely things that help you to season your dishes.
And what about potatoes? I like my potatoes.
Yeah, no, potatoes are a great choice. Leaving the skin on can help you increase the fibre. However, be aware that potatoes do not count towards your fruit and veg intake, unfortunately, as they're more seen as a starchy food.
What about sweet potatoes then?
So sweet potato can count towards your fruit and vegetable intake as well, that's fine.
Amazing. So Emma, fruits are really important for the heart patient, and a lot of our heart patients have got diabetes.
Yeah.
Are there any special considerations for them?
So I would just say with diabetes, just making sure that you spread your portions of fruit out throughout the day, but they can still be incorporated as part of a healthy, balanced diet.
Okay, things like bananas and so forth, they're all fine.
Yep, bananas, mangoes, grapes, they're all fine. Just remembering to stick to the portion size, which is 80 grams or roughly what fits in the palm of your hand.
Great. So Emma, we're going to make spaghetti bolognese today?
That's correct.
Right, okay, so going to carbohydrates is definitely one of my weak points. So what's special? I'm just going to go get one. You tell me if I'm getting the right one.
So I think we should go for the whole grain version of that spaghetti. So when we're looking at carbohydrates, that's what we really want to be going for, is the whole grain, whole meal versions.
And Emma, what about rice? Rice is often a staple for a lot of our population.
Yeah, no, so rice is a good addition to the diet. It's more about the portion size. So often a lot of our cardiac patients might be having 1 or 2 plates of rice at each meal. So the recommendation would be to maybe have about 1/3 of your plate made up of rice, 1/3 of your plate made up of your salad or vegetables, and then 1/3 from your protein.
So really about cutting the portion size as opposed to cutting it out.
Just keeping the portion size to about 1/3 of the plate.
So 1/3 of the plate. We need to remember that. So Emma, we're now in the pulses section, the lentils and so. Oh, why is that important for the heart?
So lentils and beans and pulses are naturally low in fat and low in saturated fat, which we know is good for our heart health. Also high in fibre and soluble fibre, which can help keep our cholesterol levels lower. And they're really useful actually. We can use them to bulk up a lot of our dishes, and we're going to do that today with our spaghetti bolognese.
So we can add lentils in our spaghetti bolognese?
Yep, we are. So this is a really good tip, especially if you're using, say like minced beef.
Yeah.
Use half of the portion of the minced beef that you normally would do, and then bulk that up with some lentils. And this really helps to keep your fat and saturated fat intake down.
So could you do that with curries as well then?
You could, yeah. This can be applied to any of your, standard dishes that you have.
So if you're cooking a curry with meat think half the meat that you normally put and replace
And then
it with.
replace it with some beans or lentils. Yep, that's a
Okay,
really good tip.
So which lentils are we going to get?
So I think we'll try some of the red lentils today.
Great. So Emma, we're in one of my favoured stations of the supermarket, which is the meat section.
Yeah.
So what kind of things should we look out for here, and what do we tell our patients to do?
So in the meat section, what we want to make sure that we're not buying meat that's got a lot of that white saturated fat through it, because that's the fat that we know that is not good for our heart. So trying to go for leaner cuts of meat.
So looking through these, we've got some meat options here. So it's this white stuff, isn't it?
So this is the saturated fat, yeah. So, I mean, if you look at something like these lamb cubes, they're going to have a lot less fat on them. And you can always talk to your butcher if you're buying it from the butcher, ask them to remove the fat for you.
And like you say, your good tip previously, maybe buy a bit less meat and replace it with the
and bulk
lentils.
it up with some beans or lentils, yeah.
So maybe next time when we buy meat, think of buying half of it and then replace half of the same amount.
Yep, and bulk it up with your lentils, yeah.
So we're now in the spices section, Emma, and I certainly use a lot of pre-blended spices at home, and I know friends and family do so. I was interested to say, is there things to look out here?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I would always recommend looking at the ingredients label, because all of the ingredients are in order of weight. And a lot of these pre-mixed spices, you may find that salt is the first ingredient. So from the straight off, you know that product is going to be high in salt. I also recommend looking at the nutritional panel on the back, and that will tell you per 100 grams how much salt is in the product. So I'm just going to look at this product here, and we've got 25 grams of salt per 100. Now, the recommendation is anything higher than 1.5 grams of salt per 100 is high. So this is really high in salt.
So that's nearly 20 times more. What we're supposed to.
Yeah.
I never would have thought that they'd put salt in mixed spices already. So I'm sure there'd be people out there that I do think we need more salt when we're adding it on.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, maybe look at your cups at home and see what brands you're buying, because some of them may not have salt in them, but some of them definitely do. A good tip is actually to buy, maybe you've got a favourite spice mix, look at what ingredients are in there. So it might be cumin, paprika, black pepper, garlic, and then just buy the individual spices and then make the mix yourself at home.
That's really interesting. So like curry powder is simply a mix of spices to see what the ingredients are and try and make them yourself.
Yep, no, definitely. That's really a good tip.
So Emma, high blood pressure is a clear risk factor for our heart patients and heart attack patients, and we know that salt is a very important contributor to high blood pressure. Yeah. So we can see different salts here: table salt, pink salt, Himalayan salt. Any difference in the two, or three, or all of them?
No, I would treat them all the same. So we want to make sure that we're not having more than 6 grams of salt a day, and that is just 1 teaspoon of salt.
Wow.
And 75% of that is already in the foods that we eat. So you can see that it's quite important to try not to add any extra salt into the diet when we're cooking or at the table.
So the thing to remember, 6 grams of salt per day
is the maximum.
So tinned vegetables is often quite common in what our, or certainly I buy in patients. I've got 2 tins here, one boiled black beans, and the other was the red kidney beans. Anything to look out for? Well, there's one thing I've noticed, but one's in salted water and one's in water.
Yep, so that's right. So what we want to be doing is when we're buying tinned beans or lentils, is we want to make sure that we're buying them only in water, not the ones that come in the salted water, because we don't want to be adding any more salt into our diet.
So label reading is really important to try and work out what the calories and what the what the food contains. Is there any tips of what our patients should be looking for? How do they read the labels?
Yeah, sure. So some products, because it's a voluntary scheme, will have this traffic light system on the front of them.
Okay.
Here you can see we've got some greens and ambers. So this green will tell you if something is low in a fat, sugar, salt or saturated fat. And normally green is good to have, you know, all of the time. And then amber will tell you if there's a moderate amount of salt, sugar or fat. And then red will denote that the product is going to be high in sugar, salt, fat or saturated fat. Just to be aware that this colour-coded tab will tell you it's per portion size, so it's not for the whole product, so just be aware of the portion size which it is telling you.
So this is for the whole box is 4 fish cakes, but this actually is for 2 of those 4 fish cakes.
That's correct, yep, so it will be only half of this box. And if you wanted to, let's say, compare this product with a similar product, then I would recommend using the nutritional information box on the back of the packet, and then you can compare both products per 100 grams to see which one will give you the lower amount of salt or saturated fat or sugar, for example.
So we compare the per 100 grams like you would do your price of per kilo?
Yeah, no, exactly. So compare them per 100, because you might have 2 products that are similar. One might be 50 grams, one might be 45 grams, and then it's really hard to do the math on the spot and work it out. British Heart Foundation as well do a really good leaflet on label reading.
Right.
That link is on our app.
Yeah.
So go to that and you can read more about how to read labels.
So we're in my favourite section,
Yep.
which is the potato. I love a chip or 2. Now, we were talking about our vegetables and our 5 a day.
Yep.
Does potatoes count as our 5 a day?
No, unfortunately, potatoes don't count towards your 5 a day. They count towards your starchy carbohydrate foods.
So we've got other kind of carbohydrates here. We've got sweet potato, yam, cassava.
Yeah.
Sweet potato?
So sweet potato will count towards your 5 a day intake. Yam and cassava, same as potatoes, they will count towards your starchy carbohydrate.
So we've finished our shopping.
Yep.
Any final take-home points, Emma?
So I think what we've learnt today is label reading is really important, especially comparing products. For instance, we saw some of the curry powders had salt as the first ingredient, so they was very high in salt, whereas another curry powder product didn't have no salt in it at all. So, you know, make sure you're comparing products, reading labels, maybe have a look in your cupboards at home and see what ingredients your products contain.
Right, well, let's go and do some cooking.
Yep, let's go.